You heard the testimony from Mr. Zuckerberg, and in this last piece, we heard him say that Facebook collects data of people who do not use Facebook because of security concerns. What does that exactly mean?
Well, I think, Facebook is a platform that can collect a lot of data from a lot of people on a lot of devices. And so they use it to model user behavior across different platforms to try and look for bad guys.
Yeah, Mr. Zuckerberg also had to explain some of the way that they do business to senators and congressmen. One of the things that he said was that advertisers may never actually obtain the personal data of users, but given how many app developers there are and how they're connected with Facebook, is that true?
Well, I mean, I think the big issue here is that, this is all part of the big data economy, if you will. And so I think the nuance between selling data and monetizing data is really important. And, basically building a company that's monetizing and profiting from data is a lot like owning it.
So, Joel, one of the things that Mark Zuckerberg said, actually, is he thinks it's pretty much inevitable there will be some form of regulation. The question is whether it's constructive or whether it's less than constructive. One of the things that's been used as a model is the new European regulations coming out. We're going to put up on the screen, actually, some bullet points to sort of summarize what that is for the audience. You know it terribly well, but it leads off with things like a true opt-in, opt-out, where you're really asked. You have a right to say you can't use my data for marketing purposes. You have a right to retrieve and sell your own data. And perhaps most important, there's a potential 4% of revenue fine involved in this. Is that something that we could live with here in the United States?
Well, look, this is called GDPR, and people have been talking about it in small circles for a couple of years now since it was put into place. And I think it's a really good start, is the answer. When I look at regulation, and I think, it was very interesting. Mr. Zuckerberg talked more accepting of regulation than I had anticipated. But we have some really big issues around this data economy. We've got GDPR coming from Europe, which is very privacy focused. But we're also competing with the Chinese, who essentially have a surveillance economy, and they'll have all the data they can use to build AI tools. So we're undecided, or if there's still debate here as to how we should deal with this privacy. I think GDPR is a good start, but I think we're also going to learn from it that there are there's some areas where it's lacking, especially around, I think data portability will be a hard piece of that legislation to enact.